Hello, my name is Chuck Clayton. I'm the author of the book, The Rediscovery of Common Sense. It's a guide to the lost art of critical thinking. Convergent versus divergent thinking skills. Convergent and divergent thinking skills are both aspects of intelligence and of critical thinking. Convergent thinking brings together facts and data from various sources and then applies logic and knowledge to solve problems or achieve objectives. The deductive logic that the fictional character Sherlock Holmes used is a good example of convergent thinking. Gathering various tidbits of facts and data, he was able to put together pieces of a puzzle and then come up with the logical answer of whodunit. Divergent thinking is the thinking outwards instead of inwards. It is the ability to develop original and unique ideas and then come up with a problem solution or achieve an objective. Einstein was a strong divergent thinker. He asked simple questions and then did mental exercises to solve problems. For example, as a young man, Einstein asked himself, what would it be like to ride on a beam of light? It took him many years of thought experiments. However, the answer helped him develop the special theory of relativity, and then later, the general theory. Standard IQ tests gauge convergent thinking, pattern recognition, testing knowledge, logical thought flow, and the ability to solve problems can all be tested and graded. There are no accurate tests to measure divergent thinking skills. It is not surprising that the creative skills cannot be tested. How would you construct a test to determine divergent thinking capabilities? Did Leonardo da Vinci's creation of the Mona Lisa take more brain power than Einstein's equation E equals mc squared? Is the design of the Opera House in Sydney, Australia more creative than Margaret Mitchell's novel Gone with the Wind? Is Alvin Toffler's book Future Shock more inspired than Salvador Dali's painting of the melting clocks? Who's to say which of these examples is more creative? Does public opinion decide how much creativity it took for something, or is it in the eye of the beholder? These are interesting philosophical questions and ones that are enjoyable to talk about at parties. However, they aren't useful to discover how to creatively think. A more useful question is, how can convergent thinking and divergent thinking be improved and utilized to strengthen your critical thinking skills? Convergent and divergent thinking skills are both important to critical thinking. Not only that, they are interrelated. Deductive reasoning looks inward to find a solution, while divergent reasoning looks outward for a solution. Following the facts and data to determine the answer to a problem is not significantly different than having a spark of a thought and then coming up with a solution. Some of the same mental processes are used. Both require critical thinking skills to be effective. Both are used for solving problems, doing projects, and achieving objectives. In other words, convergent and divergent thinking skills are two sides of the same coin of critical thinking. One without the other does not make sense. Both start with asking simple questions from a curious mind. Both can be strengthened by an insatiable curiosity and strong willingness to learn about the world and the people in it. Here's an example. The dream of traveling beyond the reaches of Earth's gravity has been around since men and women first looked up at the stars. It wasn't until the middle of the 20th century that technology became available that would make space travel possible. On October 14th of 1957, Sputnik was launched by the Russians and the space race began. The United States was shocked when beaten by the Russians in technology. In response, the U.S. formed the National Aeronautics and Space Administration in 1958. In the early 1960s, John Kennedy sent letters to top people in the aerospace industry, including Wernher von Braun. He asked how the U.S. could beat the Russians in the space race. Von Braun answered back by saying that the United States could not beat the Russians by building a space station. However, we could beat them to the surface of the moon. John Kennedy had done his homework by getting expert advice before giving his famous speech vowing to transport a man to the moon and bring him safely home by the end of the decade. His speech helped galvanize almost 400,000 NASA employees and contractors to work as a cohesive team and accomplish one of the greatest feats in the history of mankind in less than a decade. Kennedy used facts and data to determine how we could beat the Russians into space. That was primarily convergent thinking. The required development of new technologies to design and build the rockets, spacesuits, lunar modules, and other equipment to perform this amazing feat required a great deal of divergent thinking. If you would like to learn more, please go to my website, www.chuckclayton.com. Thanks for stopping by.